how to make a health bread, which is more like a seed bread, but I'm actually going to be assisted with my two assistants today. I'm going to do popcorn and peanut. They are my assistants today. Oh, peanut! Oh, relax. Alright, let's get started. I better go and wash my hands first. Alright, so after all of that action, wash my hands and let's see what you got in your bag. So you would have received some buttermilk. You would get 500 ml. You have to measure it out to 1.5 cups. So you're going to have a little bit left over. You're going to have some rolled oats. You're going to have some brown whole wheat flour. You're going to have a variety of different seeds. If there are any of those seeds that you do not like or would prefer to change or exchange, you're more than welcome to. Just substitute it with 1/3 of any other seed. Don't add other seeds because otherwise the whole combination and the consistency of your bread will be wrong. But you can substitute 1 or 2 of them if you like. 3 eggs. We need some honey or maple syrup. We have baking powder and baking soda. You would have seen I have already mixed it in for you so that you don't have to worry about it. We then have 1/2 cup of olive oil, and again you're going to use your own salt because you only need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So we're going to start off by just toasting our seeds a little bit. So you're going to use a pan. We're going to dry fry them so no oils, nothing goes in it. Your temperature on your stove probably quite high, medium to high. And then we're just going to pop our seeds inside there. I'm also going to put my coconut in here. And I'm gently just going to toss them around. And we really just want to toast them lightly. You don't want to leave. It's not a job where you can start putting them in and then leave them. You need to make sure that you move them around your pan all the time. Otherwise, because you're dry frying them, you need to concentrate and make sure that you don't burn them. After around about 5 minutes, you'll almost start hearing that they pop. And if you keep quiet, I'll keep quiet. It has a small little popping sound. That's just the seeds popping and frying a little bit. Okay, so those seem to be correct and ready. I'm going to take it off the stove, and remember it's hot, so your pan will be quite hot. I'm going to just keep 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons are going to be 30 mils of the seeds. I'm going to preserve for the top of my bread. So I'm going to pop that into a separate little bowl, which I'm just going to hold on to for later. The rest of my seeds I'm going to pop into a bowl. Make sure that you don't burn yourself. Again, as I said, it is quite hot. This is also something you can do a bit ahead of time. So you can do your seeds first, then let it cool down. Maybe a day later or later on in the day, you can then come back, and then it is easier to work with because it is cooled down. All right, my seeds are in my bowl. Just going to toss them around a bit to just cool down a bit. I'm then going to add my flour. I'm going to add my baking powder and my baking soda, which you would have received already mixed. You're going to do your 1/4 teaspoon. Sorry. It's okay. We're all a little bit under the weather. Not corona, just under the weather. Alright, so a bit of salt in here, and we're just mixing all of this together. Once this is all nicely mixed in, I'm going to start adding my eggs, and I want to whisk them up again a little bit. So I'm going to put all 3 of them in a little bowl. And I just want to grab a fork. And while I'm grabbing the fork, Valentina can show you what my 2 very active assistants are doing. At the moment, so there's no assistant or no assistance at the moment. There's only relaxing, but never far away from the food. Hey girls? Yes. All right. So got my fork, and I'm just going to whisk it together. The main reason for whisking is to just mix the whites and the yellows together. Okay. That's done. I'm going to add this to my flour mixture, or my seed mixture probably. Right, I'm going to add my oats. Quite an easy recipe, you just start chucking everything together. It's really not so complicated. The main thing is the toasting of the nuts in the beginning and making sure that you don't burn them. Okay, my buttermilk goes in, and again, as I mentioned before, your buttermilk you have to measure out 1.5 cups because you do get 500 ml in your bag. I'm going to add my honey, and I just want to get a small little spatula to get all the honey out. You'll see in this health bread there's no butter and no real sugar, that's only the honey. You can substitute if you have kids and they don't like the honey or they don't like the maple syrup. You are able to add brown sugar if you want. And then we don't need butter, we just use olive oil. So we have our 1/2 cup of olive oil in there. And that's all our ingredients mixed together, except for the 2 tablespoons of seeds that we're holding on to. And I'm mixing all of this up. And it should be quite a nice mixture. It's not like a normal bread dough where you're going to knead it. Almost more like a muffin or a cupcake mixture. Before we pour our mixture into our baking tray or in your loaf pan, you need to make sure that you first grease it. You can reserve a little bit of your olive oil that you got, or you can just use normal sunflower oil, or you can use spray and cook, or you can use butter, any oil, but I would suggest that maybe just keep a little bit of that olive oil, or if you have olive oil in the house, just use some of that. And you're just going to brush the inside. Even though most of these loaf pans are non-stick, you can never be too sure. So all I'm doing is I'm just greasing the inside. Then the parchment paper that you would have received, you can just cut it to size, depending on how big your loaf pan is. Some loaf pans are a bit wider, other ones narrower. Or if you don't want to use a loaf pan, you can also make muffins with this. So you can also use muffin cups or muffin a tin and do the same thing. So I've got my parchment paper in there, I've got my sides and the bottom greased. I'm now going to add my mixture to my loaf pan. Okay, it's really looking so nice with all the different seeds. If you use different color seeds, you can also use dried fruit. If you want to use cranberries or you want to use prunes or dates, just make sure everything that you add is pitted, because otherwise somebody's going to break their teeth on one of those pips. So if you're having dates, just make sure that they are pitted. The same with prunes. If you're using dried apricots, you can really use any dried fruit if you want. It gives it a lovely flavor too. Raisins are great. Okay. Finger. Okay. So what you're going to do with the rest of your seeds is you're just going to sprinkle the rest of your preserved seeds on the top, because this is going to be the part that's going to rise. So you want that to be nice and seedy on the outside. Alright, I'm going to bake that in my oven, 180 degrees. I'm going to bake it for probably 40 to 50 minutes, depending on how big my pans are. You're going to need to check it every now and again, and just when you put in a cake spear, when it comes out it needs to be clear and it must not be full of batter. Perfect. So our bread is cooked, finished, looks absolutely divine, and we are going to see how it turned out. And my trusted assistants are right here ready to have a taste. And let's have a look. Girls, are you ready to taste the bread? Popcorn, peanut, come. Okay, let's go. They're good. Let me try. Mmm, very lovely. More. See if you're gonna jump.